Hey guys, welcome back to 20 Somethings TV. I'm Matt, joined with my wonderful friends Amelia, Anthony, Jamie, Ellie, and Stevie. Today we got a few pretty morbid topics, I would say. Very interesting, a lot to discuss about. For our first one, Henry Ruggs, former Las Vegas Raiders football player, was involved in a deadly car crash last week and was arrested with a DUI charge. Still have yet to face full trial yet, but he was driving at 156 miles per hour when he crashed. It rammed into the back of a lady, killing her and her dog. So, thoughts on that?
I mean, it's really sad, like, obviously really sad. It's also ridiculous how fast he was going. And I saw, his alcohol level was double the legal limit. But the girl was only 23. Like, she could have been one of our peers. And I read that she was only, like, 2 miles away from her house. I just think it's so sad. Like, that could have been somebody you knew.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of counts of recklessness that happened. There was also another crime he committed while in the car. Apparently, he had a loaded gun in his dashboard, on his dashboard. So that's another amount of reckless behavior because he was.
And he didn't have a license for that.
No,
he didn't have a license, so it was illegal. Honestly, the whole thing's disgusting. You have a 16 million contract for 4 years. You got your whole life ahead of you, and you throw it away doing dumb stuff like that. And you killed somebody in the process. It's a really disgusting situation. And I know his teammates are coming out and they're saying, oh, he needs our support right now. But how about the family that lost a loved one because of his reckless acts? It's unacceptable.
I think there's a difference, between support and tough love. I think that, people often kind of confuse the two, but I don't think I think support's almost, like you were saying, Stevie, insulting to the victim here. That poor person was doing nothing but being outside with their dog, which is not a crime. And I feel like I bring this up, for so many topics these days, but so many accidents happen, like gun deaths are accidents. So like, even though the loaded gun wasn't involved in this particular death, it still like makes me crazy. I'm like, why? Just why are you driving around with that? You don't need it. You don't, like, what is the point? I don't understand.
And if you feel the need, if you feel like you need it, then go through the proper channels. Get it legally. There's no reason to have an illegal weapon, especially, I mean, somebody in his position really doesn't need it. So I'm confused as to why he felt that was necessary. But I don't know.
Also, I would argue that DUIs are so infuriating. Like, they've always been infuriating, but particularly in our generation, because we are the generation of Uber, Lyft, taxis, whatever. So knowing that there are other alternatives, if he went out and didn't know he was going to get like intoxicated or whatever, but like there's so many choices. You don't need to drive.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm sorry, Stevie. But
no, go ahead.
I'm just like really interested to see what he ends up facing, because you see celebrities, like this stuff happens to celebrities, and it's almost like a brush off the shoulder type of thing. They only get like a year, or like they get a fine instead of actually the 40 years that they deserve. So I'm just interested to see what they're going to do this time.
Well, like you said, 40 years is what he's facing, and the attorney on the case said this is one of the worst. He does a lot of DUI cases. He said this is by far one of the worst he's seen. So I hope he gets what he deserves. I mean, anything less would be a shame.
Yeah,
I'm always. No, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry, no, go ahead.
I just hope that he's fully held accountable, because he is responsible for the loss of 2 lives. And I also feel like, how many times do we have to learn this lesson that, you need to not drink while driving, especially in being celebrity. He has so many other things to his that available to him, where he could have went home safely that night. And not killed people, or one person and dog.
One of the main questions I asked myself during this is, I know we talked about like his friends like saying like somebody's got to love him. Like it actually like really made me think in my own head, like what would happen if this was like one of my best friends as like Henry Ruggs. Like obviously I would be pissed at him and like really angry, but seeing all the slander on him, like knowing like him outside of what happened, like he's not a bad guy, it would just like it'd be hard for me to read all that. I get that everyone's still angry, but what do you guys think? If like your best friend.
I feel like I'm gonna repeat this exact thing for like our next two topics too, but like celebrities aren't our friends, and people just blindly defend them all the time. I don't want to talk about it too much right now because I feel like it's especially prevalent in our other topics, but like you defending, like us defending them, they're not going to see that, but a lot of times like families of victims will see that, and that's so much worse.
I agree, Ellie, and also I was going to say is we see this all the time where we like, let's look at the Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie case, for example, right? We're fairly certain he murdered her, but the parents are willing to overlook it because it's their son. And I think, you know, people do the same thing with celebrities or their friends. They're like, well, they're not a bad person, or they weren't a bad person. Okay, but you still went through the motions to commit an action which had a horrific, undoable outcome. So it doesn't make them less guilty just because you love them.
Going off of what you both just said, people tend to create these parasocial relationships for celebrities, and that often, creates this whole dynamic where they think they know this person, and they think that they can't be capable of these things, when in reality they don't know them at all, and they only know the celebrity presence.
In the end of the day,
No, go ahead.
No, you go. You go first.
I'm going to be the extreme on this. The moment my friend, if we're going off of what you said, Matt, if somebody has a lack of regard for human life to that degree, I can't respect them at all. And if I can't respect them, I don't want them to be my friend. So at that point, relationship's over. I mean,
I'm with you, Stevie. I would operate the same way personally.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, it's just an awful scenario that happened, and God bless all the families involved. But in other news, other topic today is Dave Portnoy, as someone who people look up to him like he's a god, which in my mind is crazy. But Insider magazine did a interesting piece on Dave Portnoy and how he likes to spend some of his free time, which sounded awful if you read it. So, thoughts, guys?
I think we need to give a little bit more backstory too about what happened.
Well, as I quoted this in my research, Dave Portnoy is a guy, as he described himself, who likes to have sex, which, yes, is very visual. But one of the main parts of the story was him having aggressive sex with a lot younger females than himself, and them actually getting hurt and saying no to him. And he's using his platform to say it's okay, it was consensual, and trying to get followers behind him by playing it off that he's just having sex and that he's better than us because he has sex. So
yeah, in one of the accounts, the woman had said it was consensual at first, but it quickly turned into something that she didn't want to be in that scenario, and to her it felt like she was being raped. I before we go further in this topic, we should probably issue a trigger warning, just because this is a sensitive topic, and
Yeah, I want to give like a little bit more background just to kind of talk about it in case anyone did miss the story, but they're using the pseudonyms Madison and Allison for the women who have come forward with the story, and they are 19 and 20 years old, respectively. For reference, this Portnoy is 43. So if we just want to look at that they are nearly teenagers, young adults, college age, right? Allison was hospitalized after her stay with Dave with the aggressive sex. He choked her, and she said she had depressive and suicidal thoughts afterwards. And that his only comment to that was that it's awful if she felt depressive afterwards, but it was consensual, which I'm like, it's not very tasteful. And then Madison had been DMing with him, and he flew her out to the Nantucket home. And he filmed her without consent, which is a big thing I want to kind of circle back to in a second. And tried to run. I don't know if he tried to run away or she tried to run away, but he's saying it was 100% consensual. These are wild stories, not your average, even just like sex scupades, if you will.
There's no way he didn't know that those two women were uncomfortable. I mean, they made it known, but even if they didn't, there has to be some sense that you understand that you're making somebody uncomfortable in that situation. And people are going to defend them because they always do. And I guess that's the thing with Barstool Sports. Everybody that works there can do horrible stuff and get away with it because I don't know why.
Going off what you said, Stevie, about the uncomfortable aspect, there's been a few sex tapes of his that have been released and have been all over Twitter in the past year. And I've seen them because they were on my Twitter. And I could tell you each female looked extremely uncomfortable, being choked with a dog leash. It was just awful stuff.
I would like to remind everybody that consent, anything other than an explicit yes, is a no. I think we need to sort of talk about that too. So, like you said, Stevie, if he had any, I mean, without them even having to say, like, I want to stop, like, there's other signs that he should not have continued. And the filming thing is really baffling to me because if that's not consensual, and now it's like you said, like Matt, you said you saw it on Twitter and like people are watching this, like I feel horrible for those women.
One of the women in her account, she went and said that she felt pressured by Portnoy too, because him being a celebrity is another dynamic that we have to talk about, because like she was a young woman in her early 20s and she felt like she didn't want to disappoint him because he was a bigger celebrity, and an older man probably influenced that as well.
I just want to say too, is like being a female is a scary thing nowadays. Like if he is an older man, like there is a lot of pressure there and dynamic between like women and men and feeling safe. Like they may have felt that they would be in even more danger if they didn't go along with it, and therefore felt like they didn't have a choice, and that still doesn't make it consensual. Sorry, Jamie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just think that it's crazy that people are even trying to argue with victims whether they experience sexual assault or not. And I feel like if you're a person with another person, they say, hey, like, I felt uncomfortable, you raped me. There's no like space for you to even argue with them. Your next question should be, seriously, like, explain this to me. I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. I wasn't aware. If he's even truly, if he was innocent, which clearly he's not, he would care and have compassion for these women that he had sex with.
Instead, he kind of labeled the whole thing as a hit piece and kind of undermined their whole trauma, basically.
It seems like that's just Barstool protocol. I mean, Portnoy is not the only person that's had something like this come up. I mean, what is it? KFC, he cheated on his pregnant wife. I feel like they just use their platform to defend all the horrible stuff they do. And is Portnoy married? Are we looking that up?
No, I think he was married and I think he got divorced. He's dating some like super like young like model female now. She's like 26 or something. They're all over my TikTok page going on dates and stuff. But which I was going to bring that up. I don't know how this is all coming out while he full blown is dating somebody. Like I'm pretty sure they lived together in his house in Nantucket or Boston, or his apartment in Boston. I don't understand. He gets away with it, the whole nine.
I guess like it could be an open relationship and we don't know that. However, I don't even think that would matter in this case. There's so many more blatant wrongdoings here. I'm just kind of at a loss for words. Sorry.
Actually, I don't know why it just popped in my head, but I was in class today on Twitter and I was reading on the situation, and Dave actually got his Twitter banned for 24 hours because he posted an email chain that he had with the it was like the head people of Insider magazine, showing how he wanted to have a like a live show talking with them about the rumors they're allegedly spreading against him, and the Insider people replied and said, no, like, thanks for the invitation, but we're going to decline. And he posted those emails on Twitter and then got banned for it.
It's kind of sick that he's trying to farm this for content.
It's what Barstool is, though. It's how they make their money, their revenue. Which is sad, but they do a good job doing it and make a lot of money.
I'm also humored that we keep doing these like 24-hour bans. Is that really like enough of like, that's like a slap on the wrist? Let's just be honest.
Did that to our president too last year or a couple years ago.
Yeah. Again, was that enough?
Well, in saying that, we'll go into or dive into our final topic of Travis Scott had his concert, his Astroworld concert in his hometown of Houston, where a stampede broke out and killed 8 people and injured many more. So what do you guys think about celebrities and not making sure they're performing in a safe environment? We also have a video that we would like to show you of this concert and what happened in it. As you could see in the short video, Travis Scott was still performing while EMT people were carrying a lifeless body through the crowd.
I think he kept performing for like 40 minutes as this was happening, and there was like an ambulance and everything. I believe he clearly knew that this was happening.
Apparently, he and his team, his PR team, stated that they were not told to stop the show or anything that happened until 10:10 p.m. And Travis and Kylie didn't know that anybody was crucially injured until the next morning. So
I love the PR team. Like, nobody told us to stop. Who was going to tell you? Like, why do you need to be told?
I just like over the weekend and stuff, I've seen so many videos of other performers, like big performers too, like A$AP Rocky, Billie Eilish, and Niall Horan, like in huge venues like this, and stopping in the middle of like singing a song because they saw somebody in the crowd passing out. Like Travis Scott, I also saw another video of him like acknowledging that there were people passing out and then immediately went back to singing. And I just think, like, what is the thought process if you're seeing somebody in that state and then you just go back to singing? I just found it very creepy.
I think that was the video that he made. He had the crowd jump up and down, which is crazy to me because people were being trampled, and he's basically telling them to jump up and down on the people that were just trampled.
Yeah, I mean, he's known to have his fans rush the stage. I think at some point you realize that, or you should realize there's some danger to that. I mean, with that many people. And going into this, I didn't know how old Travis Scott was, and I thought, all right, maybe he's like early 20s. He's a dumb kid. He doesn't realize the consequences, but he's 30 years old. I mean, how do you not see that there could be consequences there?
Ironically enough, actually, I was reading Barstool today, and they did a piece on the Travis Scott, what happened, and apparently the chief of police of Houston went into Travis's trailer before the show and gave him like a little like a warning that the energy in this crowd is going to be extreme tonight, and just like be cautious. He's noted that people are already breaking down barriers, like to like hold it back, before the show even started, or before like it was like 4 hours before showtime, and people were already breaking down stuff. It was also noted that the chief didn't say don't stop the show. Like you could perform, but just like be aware. So he was warned.
Apparently nobody cares about this, but like I just want to point out the fact like we're still in a pandemic, so like concerts are already a little iffy, right? Like a lot of concerts you have to be vaccinated or have proof of a negative test. At what point do we think like mosh pitting or stampeding or whatever is like the best idea that we could possibly have? Like of all times, I don't think now would be like the best time to be doing like wild crowd behavior.
It's also in Texas, and people in Texas don't think the rules apply to them. They could do whatever they want. But yeah, no, I agree completely. Like I could in Rhode Island, I could go to the gym when there's only like 40 people there, which is half the capacity. So I don't get how in Texas or in Houston they can have full-on concerts where people are running over each other because there's not enough room.
Yeah, this whole thing seems really dystopian. Like it's their own weird world.
I just also so many shows get canceled ahead of time if the crowd isn't behaving. Like I've even just like I'm a boy band fan, so in my long history of going to boy band shows, like I've been where they've been like, all right, like if you don't chill, like we're gonna have to either cancel the show or like there's gonna be a delay or whatever. And so I don't even understand why, if that's probably nothing compared to what was happening here. So I don't understand why people just were like, yeah, it's fine. It's okay.
I watched the Travis documentary, and he's actually like come out and said that if his crowd isn't like up to his standards, like of energy and craziness, he won't go out. So he was actually kind of the pure opposite of what you just said, Emilio. Which I get that, like I understand that you want your crowd involved, but there's should be like a limit. You can't have people running over, and also it's also his safety too. Like he doesn't even think like, shouldn't I stop? What if they run up on stage and trample me? Like just common sense at that point.
Saying he won't perform for people who bought tickets if they don't match his energy is such an egotistical thing to do. Also, like people paid to be there. Like, I don't know. That's just such an ego trip to me. Like,
That's Travis though. He once yelled at a kid who was taking pictures on stage. The kid was doing his job. He worked for the venue, and he was yelling at him to get off the stage because he was messing up his vibe.
I saw a video where he was like crowd surfing, and some kid, I believe it was a minor, was touching his shoes, and he was gonna like steal Travis's shoes, and then Travis got out of the crowd and like threatened the kid, and basically told the crowd to go against the kid.
he has a child too. Like this is what blows my mind is like you should have some you'd think, I shouldn't say you should, you would think he would have some fatherly instincts at this point about like, especially towards these minors and children and everything. I don't know.
And I think we should mention a 14-year-old kid passed away in this. It's just devastating.
I'm kind of annoyed also how like I don't. Did you guys happen to see the apology video that he came out with?
The apology video was it was so bad. Like,
and even the measures he's taking, paying for the funerals and the burials and therapy, it's a little, it's too little, too late. You know, I don't believe that you didn't see an ambulance pulling into your crowd.
I'm pretty sure he acknowledged it too. There was a video where he acknowledged the ambulance and just kept playing.
Yeah, that's really disturbing.
I think it's just heartbreaking for the victims and their families to pass at a concert, and it's a place where you're supposed to have fun and enjoy your time, and your family members don't come back from something like that, I think it's just heartbreaking.
I just keep thinking about situations where it was like the Ariana Grande. Somebody help me. It was like, I don't know if it was the Kiss 107 or the Manchester show. Anyway, where there was the shooting from the hotel.
Yeah, Manchester.
Okay, thank you. Where there was a shooting and how heartbroken she was, and I think Fortnite is removing Travis Scott from the game, as they should, because that's the prime demographic of 14-year-olds. The disrespect. What was I saying? Like, you think about celebrities who have had actual like tragedy happen at their shows, right? And then, you know, they've paid for funerals or things and they feel horrible, and you can see they feel horrible. Where with Travis, it feels like he didn't care at the time, and now that it's like being brought up, he's like, yeah, I'll pay for it, but like, you can't pay for it to go away. And like, the lack of empathy is still there. It's very clear, I think, to everybody.
And also, like, one of Kylie's posts, she was like, oh, my condolences to the families, but I want to make it clear that, like, Travis and I didn't know. And I think to have your condolence for the family while also defending yourself in the same post is kind of gross to me.
She also posted a video with the ambulance.
Yeah. How do you not know? You
Of
have
course.
pictures of it.
And she deleted it like immediately after, but kept the other videos she had up on her story from the concert.
It's funny because like in today's fan culture, you can delete whatever you want, but somebody still already saved it.
Yeah.
I really wonder if this is gonna like affect his career at all, because I don't know, like there are always gonna be people who defend like artists and celebrities that they like, kind of what I was saying earlier. So I'm very curious to see how this affects his career.
Sadly, Ellie, I don't think it will. It's the sad truth. It's a multi-million-dollar artist, and a lot of people love his work. And it's sad, but I think he's gonna be okay. And I think he knows that, and that's why he's kind of. I don't think it's why he gave the half-ass apology, but like that's why I feel like he's not putting in that much effort. I don't know. Just an awful scenario.
Yeah, he's doing just enough to cover his ass after the fact.
Yeah, minimum.
You see so many people say like, yeah, he did bad things. Like, this is not necessarily about Travis Scott, but I was thinking even like the Chris Brown, Rihanna, right? So like, people are like, yeah, he beat her up, but like his music still bops. Like, are we people are so ready to separate the art from the human being, and I'm not sure that's really what we should be doing, because by supporting the art, you're still supporting the human being.
Going off that, O.J. Simpson sliced his wife's neck open, and Ray Lewis shot somebody in the head, and you still see people wearing his jerseys all the time, still praising them for being the great players that they are, and kind of just like putting it in the back pocket of like what they did, but still supporting them to the max. So like, it's the sad world we live in, but it's true, they're still going to prevail, and we're going to sit here talking about them. Now they shouldn't prevail, and they're never going to hear it, and it's not going to matter to them, which is sad.
What an uplifting ending.
Yeah, it's not
Sad
sad.
note to end on, but you hit the nail on the head there, Matt.
Yeah, well, I wish I didn't have to end that way, but in other words, thank you guys for watching this week's episode of 20Somethings TV. We'll be here next week at the same time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow us on Instagram at 20SomethingsTV. See you guys later.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Don't go Travis Scott.